Rey Final. 4-4 on the night. Real Madrid advance 5-4 on aggregate. Luis Garcia joins us. We'll be hearing from Luis in a moment. What a crazy game, again, for Real Madrid. And we're going to be so negative about them, because I know we are, because given what they did in the 120 minutes, yet they are through to the final.
But the reasons we're going to be, and we can be somewhat negative about them, makes for exciting football, because it gives other teams opportunity. You know, we've got this Copa del Rey semi-final tomorrow that was an 8-goal in the first leg, and that defending wasn't great, obviously. Then we have this one again tonight. This is such a disjointed Real Madrid side, but one that can just do special things in a heartbeat, in a moment, and we saw that. I mean, the Bellingham goal from the Vinicius run to sort of get them going again was just amazing. Yeah, the defending wasn't brilliant on the halfway line, as Shaq said. But the finish from Bellingham was marvellous. My God. And the boys mentioned it in commentary. How are they going to cope with the Classico? How are they going to cope in the Champions League?
Well, they can't play like that. They won't. It's going to be exactly the same as we saw earlier on in La Liga and the Super Cup.
You know, I know Arsenal haven't got the history and the pedigree anywhere near Real Madrid, and they've never won the Champions League. But Saka's back, and they might be licking their chops unless he gets some players back in the back four. So their inability to do the basics at the back actually makes for very exciting football, and that's why we saw what we saw.
And that's the thing. You saw the brilliance of Real Madrid with that Bellingham goal, as Craig mentioned, and you see what they can do when they really turn it on and decide to play the football that we all know they can. You get yourself back in front of in the tie with that goal, and then all of a sudden you see Camavinga chasing down, and you're almost pleading, don't make this challenge. You could see it, you know how ridiculous it is, and from that free kick, Sociedad get the goal, and all of a sudden now we're going into extra time. So you go from Real Madrid being second best for most of the game, showing how brilliant they can be, and then immediately after that, you see just
themselves in the foot again.
Exactly. I mean, it was so basic that it was frustrating in so many ways.
Luis, this team is a freak show, and it's crazy. Like the amount of suffering these Real Madrid fans have to go through watching this side week in, week out, but yet again, they're victorious.
Yes, and we knew that. We were watching the game. We saw that Real Sociedad was doing a great job, that they were scoring goals, they were getting closer. But we knew in the back of our heads that they were saying, yeah, but in the end, Real Madrid will manage to do it. Maybe we thought that Real Sociedad is arriving to the point that they are going to arrive to penalties. But no, in the end, it's Real Madrid the one who managed to get that result and go through to the final. But once again, they've been exposed. I think that no Real Madrid squad is handling the situation of playing again another 120 minutes, knowing how the schedule is going to be. Very demanding game, playing against Valencia, against Alaves. It's not going to be easy because they are fighting to don't be relegated next season. So they are going to put a good performance. At least they are going to compete. And you got that game against Arsenal today. You were exposed. A team who struggled during the whole season to score goals, score 4 against you, and they could have scored even a couple more. So in the end, we all know Madrid managed in these kind of games to get the result, but not the game, not a good performance. I think that they were exposed today. That back line of 4 players who haven't ever played together, they will expose again. They received 4 goals. They struggled so much during the whole game to control this Real Sociedad, even though they have some dominance during the game. But we could see that Real Sociedad will have their chances. In the end, it's always like this. Real Madrid, until the end, they find the way to get the result, but definitely not the football that we all expect.
Don't think we'll see Camavinga back there in the big game. I'm not sure we'll see
Exposed by Gubo all the time.
I'm not sure we'll see Lucas Vázquez back in there. I mean, the guys were talking about it in commentary. Valverde's been playing in there, and because he can do a bit of everything. I mean, Vázquez can get up and down the pitch, but not to the same capacity that Valverde can. And Valverde is a little bit more physical to defend the back post as well. So there's some big thinking to do then, because then you're taking people out in midfield. You've got to put somebody else in. So you take one from one place, you've got to
try to explain this to me. Yeah, they were so bad in the second half. The only time they got going is when they had to. When we saw that run from Vinicius Jr., brilliant finish from Bellingham. Why can't they just do that all the time?
It's like nobody's going around shaking them. It's like It's almost like nobody in the back line or the middle of the park is going around geeing people up, and it's only like when they realise the crowd start getting on your back, that sort of G's you up a little bit.
Right.
But you're out of the competition, you think, oh my God, I've got to lift a leg here. So I don't know. I mean, one of the best managers that's ever managed in the game hasn't got the answers to why they go into these slumps during the game. He hasn't got if he had the answers, that it wouldn't be happening. But what we do know is, and we talked about it before the game, if you look at Real Madrid's season, you could pick apart performances left, right and centre. But there's actually very few results you can pick apart.
Yeah, apart from the Clásico.
Apart from the Clásico, which was a disaster for them. And actually, particularly in the first half, they actually played pretty well. Should have done more. But it's the performance. And it's the performance against teams they're expected to beat. And yeah, Real Sociedad, they're not the 10th best team in La Liga, where they're sitting at the moment. We know they're better than that. And we saw it tonight. And we know exactly where the problems are, although those problems dissipated tonight. But the end game is, at the end of the season, they won't be talking about performance in the Bernabeu. They'll just be talking about results. But the other side to that is, can you keep playing like this, Shaq?
No.
And keep getting the results?
Absolutely not. And I cannot help but wonder, and maybe it's an easy answer, but how much complacency played a part? In that, you are against a team who are sitting mid-table. You are up against a team who can't score goals. And you feel Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, you almost just have to show up.
But the thing is, like, they haven't. Complacency hasn't been the issue. For example, against Atletico,
exactly,
they weren't good enough.
They were not great.
This isn't a great Real Madrid side by Real Madrid standards, but we all know they can get the job done. But they are far better than what you saw for the majority of the second half. I think we like.
But are they?
Yes.
There's no evidence that they are.
And you saw that. No, and you saw that with the Bellingham goal, as I mentioned. Or certainly they can be. When they all of a sudden are crashing out of the competition, all of a sudden you see the bright side to them. And then, as I mentioned, Camavinga does what he does inexplicably.
You've got two teams going for the title, right? I know this is the Copa del Rey. You've got two teams going for the title in Spain now. Atleti won't win it. They're just too far behind. And whichever team gets there, they have got there completely a different way. The polar opposite. Which one's right and which one's wrong? You've got Barca, who are slick, and they've got great wide play. You've got a striker who's in great form, a natural striker who's in great form. The back line plays a unit. Yes, it's a high line, but it's been pretty slick from them. You've got a Real Madrid side that just seems as if there's a bunch of hurdles in the field, and every time they jump those hurdles, they fall over. They keep having to pick themselves up, brush themselves down, and go again. It has been far from easy from day one of this season. Do you remember the games we saw them? I think it was in Mallorca, I think it was in Las Palmas.
Yep.
All these games earlier.
It'll just take a little bit of time for everyone to gel, obviously.
It's just going to take time, and when Carlo figures it out, and to be fair, again, Copa del Rey Final, still in La Liga, very much, and still in the Champions League. So we're sitting here talking about how the negative side of their game and all that sort of stuff. But we have just waited for them to put this run together of 6 or 7 wins, but not just wins, statements.
Yes.
Where you go, wow. Now, their argument will be, well, it's personnel. You know, that's because we haven't got this player and that player, and we keep having to juggle. But I don't think there's any doubt, even when the bulk of their players have been fit, they have still looked disjointed. But, again, I go back to the main point. They have players that, when they look absolutely on the floor, and the referee's just about to count them out, they pick themselves up and somehow do something magical, and all of a sudden they're back in the game, and then the momentum. I've never seen a side, not just this season, but for many seasons, that look dead and buried, get a goal, and the whole momentum changes, and they go on and win the game. For me, that's Real Madrid, and again, we saw it again tonight.
But this is against a Real Sociedad side. Let's not forget, as Craig mentioned, 10th in La Liga, knocked out by Manchester United in the Europa League, Luis. If I'm Arsenal, I really fancy my chances.
all of them, Dan, to be honest, all of them, they fancy the chances when they play against Real Madrid because they see what we see. They see that there's a chaotic Real Madrid. They lose a lot of the balls in counterattacks. They get broken in the middle of the park, so there are a lot of spaces that you can use. And when they try this quick transition, they are exposed at the back.
From Berenchea. I mean, again, we touched on it at half-time with Lucas Vazquez having to really tuck in. Looking at it again, I'd love to know how he gets there, but Raul Asensio, when that goal goes in, is stood in the centre circle, the centre-half. Now, how the hell he gets there as the right side of the centre-back, I don't know. I'd love to look back at some point and go, how's he got there? Because that means then Vazquez got a decision to make and you've got an overload. And then you saw Camavinga getting done twice. OK, he's not a left-back, I know that. But he gets done twice for 2 of the goals. And as Shaq mentioned, Lunin didn't cover himself in glory. I can just feel Real Madrid fans shouting at this screen.
No,
we've won, and the same as Barcelona fans when we talk. But the end line here for me is we have a Barcelona and Real Madrid, and it looks like if it goes to form, that's probably what the final's going to be, unless Atleti come up with something they've not been able to come up with in these two-legged cup competitions. Can Barcelona have a seriously successful season with the high line at the back, which really irks a lot of their fans? And can Real Madrid have a successful season continuing to play in the manner in which they have been for the majority of the season? I think for me, those are 2 of the biggest questions.
Well, we will know one of the answers tomorrow, of course. Atletico Madrid take on Real Madrid. We'll say thank you very much to Luis Garcia. Do you want a stat before we end this conversation? Well, you're going to get it whether you like it or not. 3 times teams have scored 4+ away goals against Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey. Every single one of those times it was Real Sociedad. There we go.
Oh.
You're not getting that 20 seconds back.
Well,
Atletico Madrid against Barcelona then live tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll be here for extra time, don't worry, on ESPN+.